Well, there are 7 dead in another mass shooting, this one in California. Now, what's confusing, and I admit it is confusing, this is not the mass shooting from a few days ago. This is a different California mass shooting, and BBC News has a brief article about it. Half Moon Bay, 7 dead in another California mass shooting. The U.S. state of California is reeling from its third mass shooting in 8 days after a man shot dead 7 former co-workers south of San Francisco. This was in Half Moon Bay. Some of the victims were Chinese American. The suspect, Chun Li Zhao, 66 years old, was arrested after driving to a police station. This is, remember, separate from the death of 11 people in Monterey Park, which is 6 hours southeast of Half Moon Bay. And just over a week ago, 6 people, including a teenage mother and baby, were killed at a property in Goshen in central California. Now, there have been 40 mass shootings in the United States this year so far. Let me make sure I'm being clear about that. Mass shootings. If you want to know how many shootings have there been, it's hundreds. But if we limit it to mass shootings, there have been 40 this year. And it is, of course, the 25th of January, so more than one per day. You can find information about them on the Gun Violence Archive. They have a category called mass shootings. They also have a separate category for all shootings, which you can find. And you will see the shooting I just mentioned listed, Half Moon Bay. Since this incident yesterday, there were 2 more mass shootings, those 2 shootings were in Oakland, California, 1 killed, 4 injured, and in Red Springs, North Carolina, 3 killed and 1 injured. Also listed here from a few days ago is the Monterey Park shooting, 12 dead, 9 injured. We're out of ideas, guys. We don't know how to prevent this. Of course, this is the only country where this happens with this regularity, but we have absolutely no idea how to prevent it. We're all out of ideas, even though we haven't really tried anything yet. And I think this is as good a time as any to remind everyone's memory, refresh everyone's memory of the list I provided. Who knows after which mass shooting? Maybe this was after a Texas mass shooting a year ago. It's constant. So I don't know when I last showed you this list. It's probably been about a year. We have things that we can do. And what I would immediately do if things were up to me, and again, remember, this is all without displacing the Second Amendment. We have a Second Amendment. None of my suggestions here say get rid of the Second Amendment, but here are things we could immediately do. End the gun show loophole, which refers to the fact that federal law doesn't require unlicensed private sellers to do a background check. If you just privately sell a gun and someone shows up to get it, you are not required as an unlicensed private seller to have a background check done on that individual. That's a horrifying loophole. We should have universal background checks, which would require just about every firearms transaction to go through the NICS, National Instant Criminal Background Check System, and that would close what is sometimes called the private sale exemption. Universal background checks are not required by federal law. There are 22 states and DC which do require them, at least for some private sales, but is not nearly universal. There should be a mandatory waiting period from when you purchase the gun to when you actually get the gun. There should be no high-capacity weapons sold to anybody under age 25. You should be required to have gun insurance, and it should be significantly more expensive without a parent if you were under 25. If you're under 25 and you want a gun, you should be required to get community support letters from adults in your community that can say, I know this person and I have no concerns about them having a firearm. Some weapons should be banned. I mean, there are some weapons that they're of no recreational or other value than as mass killing machines. They aren't valuable as in terms of sport or hunting. I'm not pretending I have the full list right now, but there should be some weapons banned. You should be required to have a periodic mental health evaluation. And the licensing process itself to even get the license to get the gun in the first place should be significantly more extensive. There should be a written and practical test like for a driver's license. There should be a training and licensing period that isn't just one weekend. It should be longer, like with vehicles. And we should also have a gun buyback program. Give people an off-ramp that feels better then we're going to be confiscating guns. Now, I know every time I present this list, someone writes and says, David, that wouldn't have stopped this specific shooter or that specific shooter. Well, but it might stop the next one, and it would have stopped some of them. If we think of each shooting that has taken place, in almost every case, some of these items would have been relevant. Some of these items, not all. And it would still be a worthy cause to reduce the number of mass shootings. It's January 5th, and we've had 40 mass shootings in the United States. So that is a list that every time I look at it continues to make a lot of sense. Some of these items, there actually is significant national support for. Some of them, there is not necessarily. But we have things we can try. And so far, the things that have been done, other than that period when there was an assault weapons ban in the 90s, and there was a reduction in mass shootings during that period of time, nothing else seems to, prayers aren't helping, fixing doors isn't helping, triple pane windows are not helping, right? I mean, the things that the right talks about aren't helping. And then lastly, the right says, oh, mental health. They also don't want to fund making the mental health support system in this country more robust. So they're also hypocrites as far as that goes.